Alright, we're live. So, hello. So, yeah, we continue to watch and follow up the Rust Axum fall course from Jeremy Chon. To be honest, I like it a lot. Yeah, I don't know, it's right at my level of understanding Rust. Like, I read a little bit of the Rust book and then haven't practiced for a while, and now I see how things work on the Rust. Also, I don't have like backend domain knowledge, so this is routing, context, and middleware. Everything is interesting. So yeah, let's move on.
Okay, so now that is quite a bit on the extractor and the middleware, and now we are ready to beef up our error. Now there's two more credits that we're going to use, and that is going to be the strum macro, which is going to have some utilities for enum to serialize.
Strum macros. Okay. Cargo Tomo. Interesting that they have this async trait. But I think everything is working for me. Alright. Is it the version 24? Okay, and ID. So version is 1, feature v4, and faster in G. So fast R and G. Sorry, I need to let my cat out. Right.
Serialize them as string, and we're also going to use UID before. So we want to have a 7.
The section is strum macros is strum is a set of macros and traits for working with enums and string easier in Rust. So basically it's some utility library. We will see. Okay.
Server error and a client error. Add a little bit more information, but just what is needed. So for that, let's go to our error module, and we're going to create a new engine, which is going to be our client error. We're going to scroll down. We're just
So error and new enum. I think it's pop, yeah. Enum. Sorry, client error.
just going to have few variants. The first one is login fail. The other one is no auth, and we're not going to
Oh. Yeah.
give any more details. And then the third one is going to be invalid params. And then the last one will be kind of a fallback, which will be service error. And for our convention, which is the client side, they are all
Service error. Service.
all uppercase snake case, which is not the convention of a normal enum, but we want that into our API result. That is just a personal preference. But if that is what we want, we're going to add the allow no camel case types. And now we're going
Okay, so we do no camel case types. All right.
we're going to derive debug just for us, and then we're going to use strum macros, and we're going to use a macro as ref str. So that
Debug and strum.
So that will allow us to serialize the enum variant as a string, and that is what we're going to send back to the client. So if we go back up, we have the error, which is going to be our main error, the server error, and we have our client error, so we want to be able to go from one to the other. So now to go from our server error to our client error, we're going to have a custom implementation, which is going to be implementation on error, and it's going to be a client status, which is going to be the HTTP status, and the client error. That will take a reference of self, and then we'll return a tuple of status code and client error. So that is just the API we can.
Client status and error. Okay. Implementation error. Pop function. Client status and error. And we will return status and client error. And status code is from HTTP RFC 7230. The status code values in the range of 999, included supported by the type. Oh my gosh, what? So okay, this is the end. All right.
We came up with, but obviously you can have your own. The point here is that these methods will know how to convert a server error to a client error and the status code. So now we're going to do a match. The first things we're going to have our fallback, such as if it's not covered, we'll go to a status code of internal error and we'll send back our fallbacks.
Internal server error. Okay, status code. Yeah, this is syntax where you can semicolon and it's not return and this return and this return from here and this return from here, and still feel like it's a bit confusing, but on the other hand the code look nice, so maybe once you get used to it it's probably better, but yeah.
Back service error. Then we're going to add the one for the model. And so in this case, for this type, we want to have a bad request and valid params. And then for our auth, we are going to go
status code forbidden no auth.
to group them, and we're just going to send a status code of forbidden, and the client error variant will be no auth.
Okay, so there is more. House cookie environment format. Okay, the formatter want to do it like this. It's kind of Can I actually set the format setting? This is interesting. Rust format settings. Okay, we can do it. Let's try. Let's maybe don't do it globally for now, but yeah, and line inline attribute widths. Write an item. Recommend width is below threshold. I don't know, let's just try. Where we was error. Okay. And if we set true, and go to the error back and press format, nothing happened. Okay, default is 100. Okay, let's say 80. And yeah, it's working. Cool. And I want to test 90. Ninety is good. Yeah, I think. Yeah, just restart my test, so. To see this console is not broken. So yeah, was easy config. I like it. Maybe Tomo format, interesting.
And then last, we're going to have our login fail, which is going to be a one-to-one mapping with our login fail. But eventually on the server side, you might want to know why the login failed, and obviously you do not want to send that back.
Forbidden login fail, okay.
Back to the client, because otherwise you are sending information back to the hackers. And now one little thing here is sometime when we are going to code, the fallback might be redundant. So what I like to do is to allow the unreachable patterns, which is the fallback at the bottom, such as I have more flexibility. But there's a point to argue that you don't want that, such as you are strict about making sure that you are always exhaustive and you don't need a fallback, for example. Now, if we go back up, we don't need to have a full response. What we're going to do is create a placeholder Axum response. And then we're going to put the error into the placeholder. So here's how it works. We're going to have a let mute response, and we're just going to take the status code internal server error into response. So that will create a response object. And then it's important to make it mute, because what we're going to do is insert the error, or server error, into the response. So we're going to do a response.
Okay. So enter response for error. This is what we showed previously, but now we create response and do status code.
Response, the extension mute, so same pattern that we had for the request. So that's why
okay. create place order Axum response. Then we do insert the error and
Axum is very powerful. And then you can do insert and then
extension mod. Okay, we already face it.
Again, it's an insert by type. And then we're going to return response. So that is just
so cannot mutate immutable variable response. Should it be like this? Yeah.
just a placeholder, and the magic is going to happen in the map response middleware. And one thing that we're going to do as well is we're going to use this little macro from strum to be able to have the variant name as a string. So
for the error, we want strum and once again why we need it.
Middleware. And one thing that we're going to do as well is we're going to use this little macro from strum to be able to have the variant name as a string. So now,
Okay, I see. We can have this enum name variant name as a string. Okay. Implements as a ref start from my Okay. Yeah, we can pass different name. So you see the red. Okay, so red is equal to red because we specified here. Okay, I see. New amethyst, hello. How you doing? Yeah, we're doing some nerd stuff here. We're trying to learn Rust and kind of backend development, so I'm kind of unfamiliar with both. So nice course from Jeremy Chong, Rust Axum full course.
now, if we go back to our main.rs, we're going to close main, and if we go down to our main response mapper, this is where the magic is going to happen. So first we're going to create a UUID, and that will be the UID to match our server and our client errors.
Hello. Yeah, doing well. So usually I'm trying to do streams like weekdays, Monday to Friday, and weekends just in case I have time, and today It's a day, I feel good and had a little bit of time before next things to do. So yeah, doing stream, learning, keep learning.
And now we're going to get the eventual response error. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to let service error, which is our error.
How's you doing? New Amethyst. What the plan for the weekend?
And it's going to be our response extensions. We don't need to be mute at this point. And we're going to say get troublefish error. So that is our
get eventual response error. Okay, so we need to go to the main. And what we're doing? Let server error response extension get
our error type. And now that returns an option of error. So
did I miss this part?
for example,
Yeah.
now if we go back up, we
UUID.
don't need to have a full response. What we're going to do is create a placeholder Axum response. And then we're going to put the error into the placeholder. So here's how it works. We're going to have
It's too far, we already did it.
where the magic is going to happen. So first we're going to create a UUID, and that will be the UUID to match our server and our client errors. And now we're going to get the eventual response error. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to let service error, which is our error, and it's going to be our response extensions. We don't need to be mute at this point, and we're going to say get troublefish error. So that is our error type. And now that returns an option of error. So we're going to have our client status and error here, and if we have a service error, we're going to call our client status and error.
Yeah, so what I'm doing here, I'm learning the Axum is a Axum is a backend framework for the Rust. Rust is a programming language, and I'm watching the course. I'm like learning in public. So basically, follow this guy on YouTube, Jeremy Chorn, and yeah, trying to get grasp of using Rust. And in future I have an idea to create my own backend for small app, share it to do. The app will be mobile, front end will be mobile app with React Native. But yeah, right now I'm just learning.
That will return the tuple.
So client status error. Okay. And yeah, we get our server error. Yeah, Rust is a programming language. It's getting popularity nowadays. It's the main concept is like replacement of C++. The main feature is safety. Instead of managing memory yourself, Rust doing on the language level. So yeah, maybe since I'm just learning it, I'm not good explainer, but the idea if you're doing right way Rust, like not right way, but if you follow Rust rules, which is forced by compiler, you will not leak in memory, which is kind of main problem with C++, C, etc. And it's really resource efficient. So yeah, so it's very fast and low memory consuming. But there is super different. There is some different concepts from languages like C++ and other similar languages. One is the borrow checker, which check who own the value, so you can't like try to access same value from two places at the same time, which creates which crash you up. And another idea, there is no null value. You always have like some option type which gives you some value or none, and make a write code in very different way. But another cool thing about Rust compare maybe for C++, I'm not C++ developer as well, but yeah, it's has modern tooling like JavaScript. It has, if you know JavaScript, there is like npm, you can install things, you can do different things, and on the Rust you have cargo. Cargo is a tool, you can do install packages like library dependencies, same way you can format code, you can, what else, test is included. The monorepo support is out of box, so it feels with super modern tooling. So that's why I think a lot of people loved Rust also. And yeah, a lot of people will to learn it and have fun with it, stay with it, because it's, yeah, any language is cool to learn, but some of them is painful to work with, and environment around the Rust is really good. So like here we have option type, and in other languages it will be either some value or null. Here it's wrapped in the option type, and we're forced to unwrap it and deal with each case, if there is some value or is this none. And yeah. Map is the option function.
Of status code and client error. So we'll have an option of status code and client error. So now if we have a client error, we need to build a new response. And the way we're going to do it is error response. We're going to get our client status error. We're going to get it as ref because we're going to reuse it later for the server request logging. Then we're going to map it. We're going to destructure it as a status code and a client error. And now we can create our client body. So we're just going to have the error, the type, which will be our client error as ref. So that is what Strum is giving us. And then we're going to have, for example, our request UID, which is going to be UID to string.
Okay, we need to do as ref first, and then So this is our option type. Which have either none or some status code and client error. And we do as ref. Okay, as ref doing access. Yeah, convert our referenced option to option of reference. Okay, I get it. So we destructure it to status code and client error and create JSON. Let client response body JSON macro. And yeah, error. No, wait copilot. Let me do it myself. The error type quest UUID. Okay. Okay. Type client error as ref. As ref, okay.
We're going to do a debug print.
No, it's not formatted. JSON. Okay, now it works. So we can do print line macro here. Client error body.
And now that we have this new body, we can create the new response. And so we're going to take the status code. Here we need to dereference it because what we had above was a reference of status code because we did it as ref. And then we're going to have our JSON of our client error body. And then Axum for this tuple implement into response. So we can just do that. And that will
So view new response from client response body. And response. We do the reference here. What will happen if I remove it? Yeah.
That will give our error response an option of response, which is what we wanted. Now a little side note here, the reason why the deref worked, so if you go to the status code here and you go into the code, you see that the status code is actually of type copy. So when we are going to deref it, is going to actually copy it, and so then after it can take the ownership. But the status code is still available for later. Now that we have that, later we're going to build and log the server log line, but for now we're just going to do a debug print, which is server log line, the UUID, and then just a debug of the service error. And now
And what is okay? Service error is here. Server log line. Okay. Server log line.
the read
Service error. Oh, not service server error. And this is means debug print. Okay.
the return, we are going to say return the error response if there is one, or we are going to do an unwrap all the response that was already planned. And so here we
Yeah. So error response unwrap or response. Yeah, this is nice. This is what I talked before. This is now error response is the option, so it's replacement of the concept of now. So we do return an error response, but in case it could be there is could be no value, Rust will not allow us to do it. It says you should unwrap it. So we do unwrap, and it will return value if there is, or return previous response that we have.
We have our server line, which will print our server error. And if we open our map over there, and here we print our client body, is the one that we're sending back to the client. Okay, so now if we bring our QuickDev server terminal and you press save on your QuickDev, what we're going to see now is that we have the CTX resolver and all of the request flow, and we have our server log line with our UUID. For now,
let's take a look. So go to the quick dev, save it. Hey Diggs, how you doing? Yeah, thank you. Have a little bit of time today, so decided to keep learning, and of course do it on the stream. How you doing? So here our log line, server log line, our UUID was generated, and we have no error. And what we can do, we can comment login, and there should be some errors. So instead of none, we have this error, and type no aus. This is actually our response body. We built it. This is forbidden status code. So here is our status code, and this is forbidden 403, and our client response body, where we convert client error to string. There is type no aus. Oh yeah, I want something less intense for the background music. Thank you. Cool.
now there is no errors. Now, if we were going to comment out the login, such as we don't execute the login, then if we press save again, we're going to see that now we have the client error body, which of type no auth in this case. We have a server line with a full error, and then we have the matching UUID in both cases. Obviously, we have the same thing for the next request. Let's activate our login, as everything works nicely. So now we are ready for the last step, and that is to build and log our server log line. And the server log line, which is a request log line, is different from tracing. Tracing is when you put debug and info and warning or whatever inside your code, such as you can debug it. But a request log line is one log line per request with the error or with other information. And if you do that early, you can first just print it into the console log, such as you can debug locally very quickly. And then when you deploy it in the cloud, you can push that to CloudWatch, for example, on AWS, and then you can query that with some cloud native tools. So to do that, if we go back up, we're going to create a mode, which is log, so that will be for logging. And now if we go to log,
yeah, sure, we follow. Maybe client errors. Just commit our changes and we create the log.
we're going to insert a CD with, which is a pretty good extension of CD. We're going
Cargo demo. CD with. Yeah. Okay. And we need to cargo update. And LSP restart. Good, and I guess back to log.
We're going to see why later. We're going to import our create error and result with CD, and now we're going to build our request log line. And so what we want is to be as flat as possible, and that is relatively important because in CloudWatch or this kind of queries, the flatter it is, the simpler it is, and if you start
let's start with struct. So request log line.
having too much nested, it can get pretty heavy. It's going to have some error attributes. We're going to make it
error attributes and client error type, then error type, error data, oh, it's value, and value is, I guess, from third JSON. Is it? Yeah. Okay.
make an exception right now for error data, which is going to be a value of JSON. So then after we're going to add our HTTP request attributes, the path and the method name for now, then our user ID, and then finally,
Oh, wait. So user and context attributes. user and context attributes. Yeah, so user ID, HTTP request attributes, okay, HTTP, yeah, request pass and request method. And let's add
finally, we're going to add our UUID and our timestamp. So our timestamp right now is just going to be the
yeah, both are strings.
epoch time, but eventually you want to have it ISO 8601. We're going to serialize it because the goal of that is to serialize into a new line JSON. It will give us a lot of flexibility later. And then we're going to use the skip serializing node, such as all of the option doesn't get serialized. So at least we use the power of JSON just that we don't create too much noise when we don't have an error. For example, we don't have to serialize the error properties. So now let's close that. Let's make some room.
So derive serialize. And yeah, should import it from Sordem and skip this is something from Sorde. And let's take a look. Proc macro, okay. Add annotation to option fields. Must be placed before derive. Okay. JSON APIs sometimes have many option values. Missing values should not be serialized to keep the serialized format smaller, such as data type might look like. Okay, so instead of writing for each line, we do it just once. So yeah, not be altered if we explicitly put some. This is good. So if I understand correctly, it just skips option field. We still can have some in the JSON, but okay, I just copy link to option which is don't give us anything. So yeah, I think let's move on.
And we are going to implement our log request function.
Okay. Async log request let's give Copilot to work. A result, yeah, return will be result unit to do. Okay. Oh, I think we need to
we don't have to serialize the error property. Our
So let's quickly compare UID recommend. Recommend. Then URI. Service error and client error. It's completely not what we need, so I think the Copilot is nice, but you should control it. And yeah, reference here and client error. Okay, now we're good.
our log request function. And the goal here is that in our response mapper, we're going to call this function. And here we're like getting all the information we need to be able to build our request log line. So first we're going to have the UID, which is the UID for the request method and the URI. And then we have our CTX and the service error and the client error. The client error, we can consume it. And actually the service error, we can also probably consume it. But right now we're just going to take a reference. And then it just return a result of void because we don't need any data back. And now we're going to do a quick hack right now for the timestamp. It's just going to be a system now with an index epoch. Production.
Okay, let's create the timestamp. Let timestamp. No. Timestamp. The system time. Yes. std time, yeah. Now duration. Unix epoch. Okay. Unwrap as millis, right? Okay. Yeah, another things thing about this course, like I feel I'm getting familiar with some tools like std standard library, which allow you to do things like this, to get timestamp, like to get system time, duration things. This is nice.
You probably want a UTC ISO 8601, and then we're going to have our error type, which we are going to map from the service error. That would return.
So as a ref to string. And again, as ref convert okay, in this case to string. This is basically this one, strum macros, and convert this enum variant to the string. All right. And this is still an option value. And this is also option string. All right.
Return an option, and then we're going to have our error data, which will
okay. Error data. Third JSON to value service error. set option. We return option and we return OK. Okay. And then it's for option. If the option is none, returns none if the option is none, otherwise call the function with the wrapped value and return the result. Okay. So we do mat we so we, make our value mutable. We get mat data. Get mat data. What? So this is our error, and error is a num, right? This could be the data, right? So it returned the option. For the option we can do map. And here we do we is value and value. Sorry, we take which replace the owner of this value with none and return in this value to error data. I think it's something like this. I kind of understand it, but is not satisfied. Is it supposed to be serialized? And yeah, it solves. It solved our error.
We'll do a to value, and that also will be an option. And then one thing that we didn't do is our error needs to implement serialize, because now we're going to serialize to JSON. So we can bring our error and just add serialize. And now one thing
I want to listen
we're going to
from
have
start.
our error type, which we're going to map from the service error. That would return an option, and then we're going to have our error data, which will do a to value, and that also will be an option. And then one thing that we didn't do is our error needs to implement serialize. Because now we're going to serialize to JSON. So we can bring our error and just add serialize. And now another trick here, when we're going to serialize the ending, so we're going to split the tag, which is going to be the name type in our JSON, and that will be the string of the variant name. And then we're going to have the content, which we're going to name data, and that will have the data of each variant when there is.
Okay. This is the missing part. So error.
Serialize. And now another trick here, when we're going to serialize the element, so we're going to split the tag, which is going to be the name.
So this is will be data. This we will get an tag type. This will be a type, like this will be a type, and sorry, and this will be data, I guess.
Type in our JSON, and that will be the string of the variant name. And then we're going to have the content, which we're going to name data, and that will have the data of each variant when there is so. Now that we have done that, everything compiles. We are going to create our request log line with our UID, our timestamp, our request information, our user ID from the CTA.
Okay. Let's do it. Let log line. ToString, request pass and request.
TX if there is one, and we're going to duplicate the client error type. So
Okay.
So this way we can do some matching if we want, to do some search without having to look at what the client has. And then we're going to have our service error type and our service error data. And now that we have that, we're just going to print it right now as a JSON. Line.
Quick def, let's save to see. Okay. Oh, I think we haven't used it anywhere yet, so
But eventually,
so yeah. Log request and JSON log line.
and then we're going to have our service error type and our service error data. And now that we have that, we're just going to print it right now as a JSON line, but eventually we want to send that to a CloudWatch type of service. So now that we have that, we need to make sure that we get all of this information into our map response. So for that, we're going to go back to our main, and in our main response mapper, now we need to make sure that we are capturing all of this information. And that is again the power of Axum with the extractors, because we can just get the extractors from all of this information. So for our CTX, our URI, and our methods.
So yeah. CTX.
And now we're ready to build our request log line. We're going to extract our client error. So that will give
Never thought it would happen. It never happened to me. It seems that clearly it has done. And now no longer I'm free.
Build and log server log line. And we start with client error. And we do client status error, client status error, which is option. We do unzip. Unzip is a tuple of two options. Okay. If self is some AB, this method returns some A and some. Oh, right, I get it. And we can do like this. So this is nice, I like it. Yeah, the first when you're reading about all this like option unwrapping, it feels so overwhelming, but all these tools that allow you to do it like jungling with the option types feels so cool.
Give us an option of client error, and then after we can call our log request with all of the data that we have.
Server error. Yeah, I messed up. Okay, let me check the code because log request. Okay. All right. Yeah, same story, just run type.
And then, by the way, here's a little trick of unzip. Let's put in it. It allows us to get the option of client error from the option of the tuples that we had above. So for example, if we go back to the source, that will be an option of status code and client error, but we just need the option of client error. So what we're going to do is unzip, which now we have a tuple of option of each. So they will be both some or both none, obviously. But then we only want the second one, so we're going to do a .1, and that will give us the option of client error. That is what we need over there. So that is another cool little thing from option. And so now we bring our quick dev, our backend terminal, we press save, and now everything works fine, and we have our request log lines.
Okay guys, I will finish my stream now.
Deactivate